Just a year ago, no one I know in real life was into politics. Now cut to just a year later, and suddenly they're all experts. And they all have all these opinions about what's a credible news source and what's not. And since I live in New York City, everyone in my real life now is suddenly super into the New York Times. They'll name drop it in bars even, saying, yeah, I read this in the New York Times the other day. And the other person will say, oh yeah, right, the New York Times. Of course, I saw that one too. It's a whole thing now to be cool and into the New York Times for all these people who did not know anything about politics last year at all. On the flip side, they say the words Fox News as if they're spitting something gross out of their mouths. They've probably never even read anything on Fox or watched the channel even. They've only seen clips on like The Daily Show making fun of them. So many of these folks who are newly into politics don't even realize how slanted the news they're getting is. They just think the New York Times only presents facts, not a nuanced perspective. And I was reminded of that recently when Mark Ames Exiled on Twitter pointed out a pretty crazy headline the Times ran last fall. It read, Berlin 1945, Grozny 2000, Aleppo 2016, which is a pretty nuanced perspective, all right. Because as Mark Ames Exiled pointed out, the not subtle implication in the headline's list is that the Nazis were helpless victims of Russian aggression. Which is totally true, because Russia is the common denominator in that list, insinuating the perspective that Russia was the aggressor at the 1945 Battle of Berlin, where they were ending the Nazis. So, I laughed when I saw Mark Ames' Exiled tweet, but all those people new out there to politics, walking around quoting the New York Times, who published that headline, they'd have no idea what it even meant, let alone how nuanced it was. And that's because the Times is as nuanced as it gets. They're really good at it. They are masters of it because a lot of them are really smart. Like any news outlet, the Times has good stuff, and they have bad stuff, and they have a whole lot of perspective. So, if you're gonna start all of a sudden reading the Times, you better start watching Fox News too, because you gotta look at all the perspectives if you wanna see the whole picture where the truth really lives. Or just go back to watching cat videos like you were last year. That's fine too. Just either way, whatever you do, please just stop name dropping the New York Times at the bars I go to, because I've had enough of that already.